So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Political No Brainer podcast, where we move past winner takes all politics and into real conversation. And I can't imagine how much realer this conversation is going to be than with Saul Spady. I'm excited to have you, sir. And so many things to talk about. A couple of different things. Actually, we're going to go on a couple of different tangents. The first thing is No Child Sleeps Outside. The founder of No Child Sleeps Outside, Saul Spady. This is actually incredibly important to me that we get to this point. You've raised over $50 million. How have you done that? I mean, $50 million. The initiative is incredible. Jump right in.
Yeah. So my name's Saul Spady. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I think many people, if they're from a big city, have witnessed a lot of homelessness over the last 10, 20 years. It's been a rising thing that's come out of, the opioid fentanyl addiction crisis. And I'm 36 now. I must have been 24. I just created kind of a political movement in Uganda to try to solve malaria. And my mom was like, "Wow, that was crazy the way you use social media," because I'm really good at Facebook ads. And she was like, "You should try to help this charity in town that's helping to build shelter beds for kids." I was like, "Oh man, there's kids outside." And she's like, "Yeah, I saw there's like 500 kids outside with their families." And I joined the board at 24. I'll totally make a joke if anybody watches this. There's a little bit of nepotism. My family had given quite a bit of money to this charity, and but I got talent. And I saw us asking the government for money. They wouldn't give us any money. They had a 10-year plan for homelessness. We were 5 years into the 10-year plan. 10-year plan didn't have any money for families, so they were like, "Wait another 5 years." And like, just think about that. If you're six and you're outside,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not funny at all. It's sad. It's terrible.
So I was like, we got to do something. And I'd heard about crowd funds. So this was right when crowd funds were popping up, and I created a campaign where we asked the community to raise $250,000. And we had a promise. We said if we raise $250,000, we are going to open an emergency shelter. And the city made a promise we'd shut it down because that's how controversial short-term shelter is, right? They're like, if you open this, you have to shut it down again. And we agreed. We took over an old laundromat or something, and we put in 100 shelter beds, and it was really special. And then the next year we raised $500,000, and then the year after that, and this was kind of the goal. A lot of the driver behind this is I was spending about 25,000 on Facebook ads, which is about 22.5 million impressions, targeting the 200,000 people who are wealthy and own homes and interested in charity. So we were telling them a story at frequency, right? They got 10 messages about how you don't look in the tents, but it turns out there's kids in there. And a lot of those people worked for Microsoft and Amazon. And the goal was to affect the employees of Microsoft and Amazon so much that Jeff Bezos and Steve Ballmer and like the big people in town would give. And that's Seattle's gift is we do have huge corporations. And in year three, Starbucks gave $3 million, and then everybody else joined in. And like that's how you built a movement. People always think movements are instantaneous in politics, and very sadly, they take a couple years.
They do take time. That's absolutely for certain. They do take time, but this is a significantly important. I'm always for whether they're temporary shelters, whether they're permanent shelters. I'm also for especially these kids. In Florida, we literally have school buses stopping at hotels and motels, picking up kids to go to school because parents are living there full time. This is no vacation destination. This is serious business. And so one of the things I talk about, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's somehow giving these kids life lessons that'll improve their chances of having a significantly better life. How they can level up better than their parents did, and how they can ultimately have a permanent home. Is there any initiative out there in Seattle or anywhere that would encourage that?
I'm gonna make a little bit of a jump here, and I'll make a joke about Seattle because we just elected a socialist mayor. And I'm not the biggest fan of this person. I'm gonna work with them because I love Seattle. And when you're from somewhere, you do everything to make your home better and you work with who is ever in power. But like sometimes we do need to socialize things. Foster kids go into homelessness at such a deep level. They're wards of the state. Think of how you treat your kid. If you kicked your kid out at 18, the moment they stop giving you any money, which your kids never give you money, which is how we treat foster kids, yeah, you're going to have some issues and you're going to end up with homeless people. If we gave foster kids 4 years of housing assistance, 4 years of college at University of Florida or UW, right? Like our universities that we own, we would prevent a lot of people from going homeless. And I'm going to say I don't love DeSantis, but I love what he's trying to do to lower property taxes because housing's becoming hard to build and we're not creating enough housing. You know, we need to take things that Florida does good. We need to take things that Washington does well. And that's the whole joy of America, right? I think one of the things that makes us really worried about the federal government is we might be taking things that Florida does bad and Washington does bad, and then we're bringing it, metasizing it to the federal government, and that's like not what we're supposed to do with the United States, I don't think.
Not at all. Sharing best practices, absolutely yes. Sharing. Well, I mean, I'm not a fan of Ron DeSantis, but that is true. In Florida, we do have a very, very appealing property tax level, and it's going to get hopefully better. And that's important because that does make a big difference. Because when you think of the mortgage crisis that came about, I don't remember the year though, people were buying houses based on principal and interest. They never took into consideration tax or insurance. So the people were advertising, you could have this beautiful home for $800 a month, but the taxes could be $800 a month. The insurance could be significantly another addition. So getting those rates down could make housing much more affordable. And Ron DeSantis seems to be working on that in both directions, property tax and homeowners insurance costs. The other thing too that you mentioned is so significantly important to me is like you said, kids time out of foster care at 18. And they are not ready for life in the real world. Not at all. They are thrown to the wolves at the
The
age of
lion's
18,
den of
the lion
society.
den. And one of the things I always say, and I say it over and over again, is they come to realize quickly the one thing they have to barter over and above their older competition is themselves, their bodies. And it's a sad, sad part of what happens is human trafficking is really, that is one of the petri dishes of human trafficking, is kids timing out of foster care. And I've always said, just like you said, they shouldn't be timing out of foster care. They should be entering into a 4-year college campus, just like the Hershey School, where you have parents, like I guess they're guidance parents, where they're leading you along through life for 4 years, teaching you how to succeed in life. And why we don't have that investment in a significant way across the country and when you bring up Seattle, I would love to see, like you say, there's so many philanthropical organizations coming out of Seattle. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is really the one I think of first, but there's others.
Yeah,
Why
but you
we
got to remember, I just want to say something about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill Gates' obsession is trying to save the world while ignoring the city he's from. And there's a big group of wealthy people that forgot that you are a citizen locally first, and that Bill Gates can walk by people ODing and tents and give billions of dollars to Africa and not even think about his hometown. And like, hell yeah, give $1 billion of Africa. I'm not trying to shit on that. But it's a little lacking in empathy and perspective and legacy because we are going to remember that we have the richest man on earth and we had a massive rise in homelessness to go with that. It's not his fault, but like, what did he do about it?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree. And the housing situation has become unbearable. I mean, I live in basically a nice part of town, and I see the homeless people when I drive home from work at night. I see them. It's awful. And the other thing something I do, I help at a homeless shelter for veterans. And when I asked the director, how are so many veterans homeless, she said simply this: they go into the military without life skills. Then they suddenly have a place to live and 3 meals. They have 3 meals every day. But they leave the military without life skills. They leave the military not understanding how to navigate life, how to buy a home, how to pay for a car, how to hold down a job. When they were in the military, all that was provided for them. So why aren't we spending more time in our K through 12 education system teaching people that, teaching kids that?
I mean, I think that's an interesting question. I do want to lay something out, and this is kind of the great divide between Florida and Washington. And we have similar problems. Like in Florida, insurance rates are out of control because of climate change. In Washington, insurance rates are out of control because we have a massive addiction crisis. And the way that people feed their addiction is they just steal, right? And so doors, windows are being broken. No one's getting stood up, but the addiction of fentanyl is so extreme here, and it might not be the same in Florida, but the reason why a lot of people aren't in houses, like we give people $1 million units that we've just built, and then they destroy them because we don't get them sober off of fentanyl. And yes, America has a housing crisis, and in Washington, I call it we need to build housing now because the permitting situation's so out of control. The loans are hard to get. Like we're not building enough. But that doesn't mean you automatically save somebody who's a 6-year fentanyl addict when you put them in that house. And in fact, we've seen them churn out of it and die. because we leave the dealers on the street. And this is where I'm going to tell you something, Coach Trippy. It's a war, man. I don't want to mean it in a mean way. Like, I respect all of my Chinese friends. I think people from China are brilliant, but we did the opium wars on them. And it's Opium Wars Part 2. The cheapest fentanyl, and this should shock you, the cheapest fentanyl in the country is in Seattle and Vancouver, BC. Things are cheapest where they are made. You live in Florida. Coke is cheaper there. Coke is cheaper in LA. Coke gets more expensive as it gets to Seattle because it's getting cut and moved. I don't understand how we can talk about Seattle having the cheapest fentanyl in the country and not confront that we are like the gateway of opium re-entering in America to bring us to our knees. And we as a country in our big cities, because this one thing I love Democrats, and I am a Democrat. I call myself a Cascade Democrat, but they've destroyed our big cities, and they don't take any responsibility for the addiction crisis, the dealers on our streets, the addicts that need 6 months of rehab. And for the last 12 years, all we've said in big cities is, but Trump, but Trump. And it's really annoying because like we need to solve this crisis and we need to get beyond Trump and we need to realize you work on things locally. It's not Trump's fault that we have the cheapest fentanyl in Seattle. It's our fault.
Absolutely. And when you say Trump, I tell people all the time, Trump lives in your mind rent free. He is not the problem. He has made it clear what the problem is, and he has said, I'm fine with being the problem. I'm fine. But Democrats are so laser focused on Trump, they don't present what they're going to do better. They only present what he does wrong. And we got that. We all got the memo. We know what he does wrong. But you know what he does right? He swings the bat harder than anybody else. He's the Reggie Jackson of baseball. He hits a lot of strikes. He hits a lot of foul balls, but he also hits a lot of home runs. He also creates a lot of emotion in people's minds. But what Democrat has done that? I can't answer that question.
AOC a little bit, and more than AOC that you've ever seen. I really am going to say it. It's why Trump couldn't resist. I think they're meeting today. He had to see Mom Donnie because Trump needs that foil, right? Like he's so excited. Mom Donnie is the Trump of the left. Like when he broke down, and it's not. I need to do the video that breaks down our housing crisis and how Washington has doubled our revenue government wise, and we built 10,000 public housing units, and we've had homelessness double. Right? We've heard our state, and we've heard the numbers. Hilariously, Microsoft, in response to our housing crisis, has presented $5 billion in a low interest loan for builders, and they've built 10,000 units for zero government dollars in the last 5 years. Right? That's the public private partnership solution. But Mondani, when he went to every Euro stand and he was like, yo, you charge $10 euros. Could you bring it down to eight if I got you a permit that you didn't have to rent? And they're all like, yeah, right? That was very actionable. What's Trump? Build a wall for 20 years. You don't like it, but he's the first person who said a very simple conceptual concept for trying to stop what has been hordes of people crossing the border. And it turns out it was a lie. The president of the United States can slow down the border. They've been lying to us the entire time. You know what? The lie that I live in my life, this would be like Miami-Dade County commissioner has no control over permitting, housing, or homelessness. It's not my fault. We're in 20 years of the King County executive in Seattle saying they have nothing to do with homelessness while controlling $500 million of spending, raising taxes every year to build more housing. And voila, homeless addiction crisis metasized into your city.
Well, and that's very Trump has made it very basic. That is something I've always said. The person that has made a living with a hammer and nails, the person that has built a car, the person he's very simple. He's really connected with them. And they also see him as the avenue to level up. They definitely see him as the guy with the answers. How are we going to get ahead? It's Trump. And Democrats keep saying we've got something to offer you. They never deliver on that offer. They never deliver on that promise. So when you say build a wall, or when you say when Trump says I'm bringing back jobs, North Carolina start building furniture again, and it's like North Carolina is not going to start building furniture again. That's just silly. And we haven't lost jobs just to China. We've lost jobs to automation. We've lost jobs to a lot of things. I mean, I always use the example if I had a friend that worked on the toll booths are gone. They're all automated now. now. So she lost her job with benefits. She was with the state for nearly 11 years. That toll booth has literally been demolitioned, and now you just drive by. So Trump saying North Carolina start building furniture again because China's not going to be sending it over. It was just a lie, but he was able to connect with people on those simple terms.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a lie. I think more than anything, what people really have to confront is automation and manufacturing are important to return to the United States. But I just use two words, automation, manufacturing, right? We are going to, I agree with some of what Trump's doing. We want to have these automated factories here in the United States versus in China because it's insane to have a robot in China make furniture and ship it here. That actually doesn't make sense. If we're going to have robots make stuff, we should have robots make stuff here. I really do mean it. But like, I don't think Trump can win with like protesters being like, no more jobs for my kids, jobs for robots, right? So he talks about manufacturing for you, but really what he means is manufacturing for us. And when I say us, I mean the USA. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, absolutely. It does. And the other thing too is when you look at it the whole picture, why aren't we talking about robots being the future of work, of being the future of high paying jobs? Being why not start spending more time in that in our schools? Why not say this is changing? Why are we saying AI is going to steal your job? AI isn't going to steal your job. The guy that knows how to utilize AI is going to steal your job. The guy that knows how to repair robots and build robots may have a job, but the robot is going to take over some jobs. I mean, why aren't we adapting better? And like you said, Trump's not getting into those significant details, but what he is doing is he's appealing to the common sense of people.
Yes. And if I was going to give you my version of it, so for 20 years, we've blamed the addiction crisis on not the people leading Seattle, King County, Washington, right? And that entire 20 years, it's been Republicans in control of the House, State House, the states. Sorry, it's been Democrats in control of the State House, State Senate, and the governor's mansion. So like they've had control. Uh, Here's my solution in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And I'm going to run for office, right? And I bet you if I succeed, it's because this is really simple. We have a huge homeless addiction crisis. So we need a public camping ban. It should actually be a misdemeanor to refuse shelter. We need a lot more shelter. So we should shut up about 3,000 tiny homes as quickly as possible. I know the woman who builds them out here and she can build them. Maybe we create some short-term apartments that we own for the next level. Imagine you're refusing shelter now. You refused it 3 times and you're ODing on the street, which happens. I know people who provide services for people who've OD'd over 15 times. If somebody doesn't know what an OD means, that means they've died on the street 15 times and we brought them back to life with Narcan. I believe we need to pass a 3 strikes. You go to 6 months of involuntary rehab using the criminal justice system because it's impossible to impound somebody for an addiction, but an OD is a misdemeanor. Refusing shelter is a misdemeanor. Stealing, which is happening at a super high rate. So every business in Seattle spends 10% of their revenue on private security. So yeah, it's fine. We don't have police. We don't need it. We have private militia. But the private militia is instructed not to chase the people stealing. I've even had homeless people tell me that they're moving to Portland because we've shut down so many grocery stores. It's so much harder to steal than it was 10 years ago, right? All of these things will allow a radical, non-liberal, independent Cascade Democrat to run against somebody who's probably an entrenched Democratic socialist because, like, you know what I just described is a degradation and a destruction of society. And all of our US Congresswoman's work in this period of time has been saying, Trump sucks. And like she every once in a while, just to like make the pot good, she's like, and Israel's dangerous. And it's like, yeah, lady, we have addicts all over our district. Seattle is now more expensive than Manhattan. Like, you want the real joke? Mom Donnie did the oh no dollar pizza. Our socialist mayor did a copycat video that was, oh no, $8 pizza. Like, New York doesn't realize that Seattle's been doing the Mondani plan for a decade. They are on a sprint to not solving it and making everything real expensive.
Well, that's just, I've always said as much as, and I'm going to be clear, I do not like Trump's approach. But what I do like is the fact that he swings the bat harder than anybody. And you're the kind of candidate that's going to swing the bat harder than anybody in the other direction, basically. I mean, obviously, you swing the bat in one direction. I know you're a Mariners fan, but I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, you swing the bat, you're going to swing the bat harder in the sense that, yes, if a person is literally sleeping on the street tonight or has to go to a bus station to get out of the rain, we've got a real issue in America. We shouldn't be in that position, but that's not just one person, that's happening a lot in America. It's also happening with children. Moms and children are sleeping in cars tonight. So when you say, can we put up 3,000 temporary homes somewhere? And we've seen the options. I know you know a lady that does it. I've seen 1,000 different options. I've seen the Tesla option. I've seen the options of people living in and turning vans into homes. We've seen the options. It's not the best option, but it's certainly a lot better than what's out
But you
there.
need to be sober. I really do mean this. And
Absolutely.
the addiction crisis and allowing people in America, and this is where I'm such a controversial person. I'm so against the war on drugs. Weed, great. Molly, if it's clean, go party. Mushrooms can definitely help you with some issues, and like it would be great if they're in little mushroom chocolate squares, right? So you don't throw up. But cocaine, honestly, not that bad. Seems to be a high performers drug for interns in the White House. But if your coke kills a kid because it had fent in it, or an art dealer, or fent and meth, those have to be illegal. I think we are in this opium wars era, and we should be soft on drugs that don't murder. But there are two drugs that I'm very aware of, and it's meth and it's fent that murder people. And I'll hit you something very serious. You know a little band called Nirvana?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a friend of mine, because I'm from Seattle, is Chris Novoselic. He's the bassist from Nirvana. And Chris and he's passionate about what I'm working on. He started a political party called the Cascade Party. I call myself a Cascade Democrat, and we've aligned on this addiction crisis. But like it always brings tears to my eyes, man, because we'll be like, if Cobain had been addicted to fent instead of heroin, there is no Nirvana. You people should really wake up and realize that the opioid addiction crisis, which started with doctors just making a mistake, has grown to a war against us by China because they are getting their revenge for the opium we forced on them, and they're getting the fentanyl forced on us. And fentanyl isn't a fun drug. It's a drug that destroys you. You never come back from it. You need 6 months of rehab you can't leave to even have a shot. And we're just leaving these people on the streets of Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. And you wonder why JD Vance is so confident he's going to beat Gavin Newsom in AOC. Because until we confront the addiction crisis on our streets, I just don't think we can claim to better run America.
Now, I think there is not only an addiction crisis, there's a life skills crisis that goes hand in hand with the mental health crisis in America. So I've always said, people fall into this rut of whatever the drug is because they're not succeeding in life. They're just getting frustrated. They're really getting frustrated with they're going to work and they're not even able to pay their bills. They're doing what they were told to do. They're going to college. They're not even being able to get a job. They're doing everything they were told to do. They're joining the military and then getting out of the military, and they're not even able to afford a home or get a job. So we're getting into this scenario where as much as the addiction crisis, how about we start talking about putting the horse in front of the cart, and start talking about how we get people not only less likely to get addicted, but more likely to succeed.
100%, right? And that's where I struggle. And I mean, I don't struggle. I think I'm actually really confident. I'm built for this moment, right? I was born for this. But we have to separate somebody like a kid who's just going homeless. We could save them almost instantaneously if we gave their parent an apartment. But their parent had to be sober and have a job, right? If their parent was an addict, giving them an apartment didn't work, right? We were too deep in. And now their parent needed rehab and that kid needed to be separated, right? Someone, a foster kid, right now today, if they did our program, which if there's anything that came out of this that goes viral, it should be the Coach Trippy, Saul Spady, 4 years of college, 4 years of housing, and a $10,000 stipend for every foster kid. Get it done, America! Like Donald Trump, do it. Um, but like that would save that foster kid. But if that foster kid houses out, goes homeless, gets addicted to fent at the age of 20, they're robbing, you know, grocery stores and dying on the street, we actually can't give them an apartment and just save them. They actually need 6 months of rehab and sobriety as a repercussion for the robbing and the ODing. Then once they get sober, I have groups I work with that do incredible numbers where they give you a job at $25 an hour. You pick up trash because there's trash everywhere, and we give you a house. Those people don't revisitize, like those people succeed, and it's because of that sobriety. So I really like you're a veteran or you work with veterans.
I work with homeless veterans.
uh,
I work with a homeless veterans shelter, but
you work with people who fought in Afghanistan.
but basically Afghanistan now is the and Iraq, and we're going back 20. So they're coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. The Vietnam era is over now. We're
the,
way past that. We're way
we
And even Iraq one we're kind of past. We're getting into Iraq two and Afghanistan.
It's the Opium Wars. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but from 1840 to 1870, the United States and Britain invaded China and forced China to create multiple harbors of trade specifically for opium. The Chinese emperor was writing about how the West was destroying his country, running into listlessness. People were on the streets. They were obsessed with using opium. And so that's why those wars happened. And when the West won, they forced the trade. The illicit trade of fentanyl, which I do think is coming in pieces into Vancouver, BC, then it's either being made by the cartels or by us. I really want to take claim to this because we have bad people too, and America invented fentanyl, so we are completely capable of making it. I know people make meth in Yakima. I've been told fent is much easier to make than meth. This is a really funny statement, but when Molly moves across the border in a large amount, the Canadians move it in hockey bags. So like it's not like they can't make hockey. I'm sorry, it's not like they can't make Molly, and that's a real joke. No one in the world moves anything in hockey bags except Canadians. So you know it's being made by them, right? Like that's just and like we have to wake up. We need people. I don't like the health secretary, but I actually do like that he's had an addiction crisis. Right. We need people in America that understand how drugs move and understand the war we are in and can give better terminology to it than Trump, who like his obsession with trying to invade a Caribbean or South American country is not going to solve the fentanyl crisis. And Coke is just helping his interns. Like I don't know.
Well, let's be clear. When you say you like RFK, there's a lot of people that like RFK
Well,
because the fact
I
that
don't like
Trump
him. I like that he has an
that
addiction.
his initiative and his understanding of his life's experience, let's just call it. But here's the thing: that is essentially when Trump opened his arms to RFK, that gave his campaign legs. It's not just you that found RFK a positive factor, a positive part of Trump's initiative. They're just like people are getting more open-minded to what are the solutions. It doesn't The people with the solutions don't necessarily have to be ultra successful. They could be problematic people and have the solutions. So we're kind of again um and I I I was working on another point you had made, and I just lost it. But the fact that RFK, I don't particularly care for RFK, but when he talks about red dyes, like certain products, red dyes cause cancer. We need to know this, whether it comes from a government official or not. We need to understand this. And so these are all important things he's bringing out. Whether I agree with his leadership style or not, or his lifestyle or not, doesn't change the fact that he has a lot to offer on the subject of what he's offering on certain subjects.
I think it's going to be really tough, and we're going to witness something very frustrating for those of us that I call the rational opposition, right? Those of us that are left, like we're not left, right, or center. We just want a better for America. Uh, the cities are very liberal and very angry at Trump, and they're getting these kind of far left people who don't have great policy solutions, but are really good at kind of responding to the emotion that Trump brings out. And then Trump is running America however he wants. and then middle America is kind of lost in the middle between the cities. And I really think these big city mayors need to be careful because the world is looking at them. They are being judged. It's why I'm fighting so hard to help fix Seattle, because it's not great when Mayor Katie Wilson on day one says no one should buy Starbucks. And between you and me, I've heard rumors that Starbucks is going to be sold and moved, which means 2,500 people are going to lose their jobs. All the people in Seattle who work at Starbucks that get $25 an hour, healthcare, college scholarships, all these things that are kind of pretty socialist are going to lose their jobs. And like our mayor is going to celebrate that. Right. And I'm not sure that AOC playbook of celebrating Amazon not coming to town and the Katie Wilson playbook of saying Starbucks should leave is the playbook to beat Trump.
Not at all. Not at all. If you're anti-capitalist, you're not playing by the book that's going to beat Trump. The other thing is America is capitalist in a lot of ways. America wants good, Americans want good things. We do need to get Americans in homes and out of the rain and kids
Get them
in
health care.
get them health care. We do need to do that. But the reality is that's not just all you bargain for when you consider yourself a part of the lucky gene pool. In America, you have the option of great prosperity. What's happening is the great prosperity is being consolidated to the very few. We need to create a way where it goes back out to where the opportunities, yeah, it takes hard work. Yeah, it takes commitment. Yeah, it takes dedication. Yeah, it takes wondering if you're going to fail miserably. But we need to get back to that too. And that is sort of the impression Trump gives people is he's the guy that's going to get you back to that place in time where you can essentially, you know, a lot of people are saying Bernie Sanders voters are now Trump voters. And it's
Well,
because,
they were. I mean, 30% of Mamdani voters were Trump voters.
right, right. And it's because they're seeing somebody that's doing something very different. Even though you don't like it, he's doing something very different. One of the things he's doing very different is keeping his promises. When Obama promised to close Guantanamo Bay, he did not close Guantanamo Bay. He moved the prisoners to other countries, but put them in the same situation they had been in Guantanamo Bay. They will never be tried. They will be held forever. So Guantanamo Bay was, metaphorically speaking, it was just he didn't call. But when Trump said, "I'm closing Department of Education," he closed it. When Ronald Reagan said, "I'm closing the Department of Education," it grew in size and scope under his 8-year watch, significantly grew in size and scope. So you're looking at a politician who I can't stand at times doing what he says he's going to do. So when I talk to local, like you are running for local office, I point out that under the Obama tenure, for 8 years, he was for the most part, a popular president. If nothing else, he was a respected president. They coined the phrase Professor Obama because he was intelligent. But during that 8 years, we lost over 1,200 local government seats all across the country because local government wasn't doing anything. So when local people like you are running for office, you need to be as hard like you are, swinging the bat super hard and presenting super aggressive options.
Well, and even when you're running for big office. So for what it's worth, I'm going to run for U.S. Congress against Pramila Jayapal.
Okay.
Because I want to go against the Democratic Socialists, right? I'm trying to create a fight between a pro-growth Democrat, which what I am, against an anti-growth Democrat. And I'm actually going to make a joke because it popped into my head. Because you're like, well, Trump doesn't care and he does all these things. Trump is a pro-growth socialist. There is nothing more socialist than taking ownership of a tech company, which is what he did. He took 10% of Intel, right? And like that's socialism. But in not one moment did he think about that being socialized because he's all about growing the pie. And I've even convinced socialists and communists that they should vote for me because I tell them, hey, where we align is we want to cut costs. We want to make it easier to build housing. We want to lower prices to increase your quality of life. And then when we get more money, and I say, like, so example, we're wasting all that money on public housing that isn't working. When we get to the governor's mansion and we fix that, we're going to create our foster kid program, baby. And we're going to save 18 to 22-year-olds for history because there are certain things around our pie that should always be growing. We should always be trying to grow our economy, but there's certain things that need to be socialized, like how you help foster kids from 18 to 22. Maybe everyone should have catastrophic insurance at the very least. Maybe it should be a public market, but at a certain point, every single American can't wake up anymore without catastrophic insurance. That should be a born given right. And that's okay because it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And do you know how you stay alive? With healthcare.
That's true. And one of the things too is when you talk about this is the biggest issue I have is kids timing out of foster care. When you say they shouldn't be addicted to drugs, they're not addicted to drugs when they first leave foster care.
No,
They
we failed
have
them. We
we
failed them.
failed them all along. The whole system has they've been bounced around from house to house. They've had no stability. They've had no real feeling of love, but they've prevailed. They made it to 18. They're not troublesome kids. But then at 18, we really screwed them. We throw them into the world with no preparation for life itself, with no place to be, essentially, possibly no place to live. And they've got the hard, arduous task of finding a place to live in a place where grown men and women can't navigate the field anymore. Finding a place to live is a place where grown men and women can't navigate the field anymore. And we're throwing 18-year-olds into this place where they now have to. And like, there's money. Believe me when I tell you there's government money for that. There's no reason to believe we cannot do just what me and you sort of agree, inadvertently agree on. Put these kids in a 4-year college campus
They
living
all get free
facility
college at the minimum community
and
college or trade
dorm
school
and
and
dorm
housing
and
and a food budget.
housing and health care. And not
Yeah.
just a food budget, but potentially, from my vantage point, from a restaurant vantage point, every time I hear about a program that essentially feeds kids lunch, dinner during the summer, during the Christmas breaks, what I see is a bag with mozzarella sticks and a chocolate milk. Kids need to be able to go to a cafeteria or a dining hall. It should be called a dining hall where there's real plateware, real silverware, real glassware, where there's healthy options, where there's vegan options, where there's vegetarian options, where there's real food that you sit down with another person and you eat like two businessmen. Because food insecurity leads children to crime. It's one of the biggest petri dishes of leading children to crime is food insecurity. And there's money for these crazy notions, these crazy suggestions I make. There's
They're
plenty of
not
money.
crazy. I think we need to be very blunt. To build a wall and fix the border wasn't crazy. It was a solution for what was a hemorrhaging immigration crisis, and it ended up winning over America. To save our foster kids and give them housing, college for 4 years, and like wherever they're at, they get, UBI for food so they can be because they are the wards of our state. That is not crazy. That is why I wake up every day and I fight and I build community and I whip votes together for the things I'm working on. And I've created the Quality of Life Coalition while I'm talking to you. We're a bridge, man. If there's 500 people that hear us talk to each other, that's really special. And maybe one of them will take this forward, or it's me and you. And that's powerful.
It's in a big way powerful because we agree, and there's nothing outlandish about what we're talking about. The fact of the matter is, like you said, Joe Biden screwed the pooch. He said, "I can't close the border because it takes an executive. I can't do this in executive order."
President
And
can't fix the
then
border.
no, and then Trump came in and said, "Close the border." And I'm like, and all he was doing is appealing to his progressive constituents, saying, "I'm just gonna let everybody in," and he screwed the pooch. And, there was even a lot of times the resentment towards the Democratic Party is brought on by themselves. The border is one issue, COVID was another. We were literally demanding people quarantine, and then we were finding out in places like New York City, the people that were quarantining in these big buildings were breathing recycled air and getting sicker more often and worse than the people that were out and about walking in the public parks. And then we're like, how can you be so insistent that you have the solution when in fact we're finding out the solution is the problem? Can
Can I
you
say
open
something
your
on that?
minds? Yeah.
I was just at this private members club that's about to go under, where they presented literally two solutions that are going to drive the club into the ground, right? They're like, we don't have enough money, so we're going to take our $500 dues and we're going to make them 1,300. And everyone's like, well, what? And they're like, well, we have this other plan where we keep it at $600 a month, but you have to give us $10,000 a year at the end of the year. And they're like, well, that's just the same as the other plan, but but different. And they're like, these are your two options. And
Or
like, that's how America feels right now. Like, we're being
right.
given two really shitty options, and we're really desperate for people to come out of the woodwork that are creative, that are trying to problem solve, that are providing real ways to get to the addiction crisis, the cost of living crisis. The term America first, I go even further. It should be Seattle first, right? It's got to be Washington first. And that's why I'm so pissed at my congresswoman who spends 90% of her time complaining about Israel. And I spend 90% of the time complaining about the cost of living and the addiction crisis. And you know what? I might win. Like, everyone's gonna be so goddamn shocked, and you're gonna be one of the only people, Coach, who's not shocked. And you're gonna be like, I talked to this kid, and I thought, shit, he might have a shot day one,
I
because the
I
way I move on the court, right? You see how I play the game.
Yes, I agree 100%. I not only want you to win, I want 1,000 more of you across the country. Like I said, we lost 1,200 seats during just the Obama tenure. School boards, like whatever's dog catchers, call them what you will, judges, school boards, realistically,
State House,
tax
State
collectors,
Senate,
state house, state senate,
it all matters.
election officials, election officials. We lost 1,200 seats. I want 1,200 of you. And the Democrats, let me tell you something, because I'm very close to the Democratic Party, and here in Florida, of course, not necessarily national, not
Oh, we
even.
should hang out.
It's
I'm gonna be at Art Basel. We should hang out, get
you
a
should
drink.
call, text me,
Yeah, yeah, I
absolutely.
will.
So I'll just you have my number now, actually.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
put
I
my
do.
number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Democrats are so funny to me because now they have a new policy: a candidate in every a candidate in every election, a candidate in every primary, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, stop demanding so much of the candidates. Be the party that allows the candidate to be the candidate. There was an old term: let Trump be Trump. Let the Democratic candidate let let Saul Spady be Saul Spady. Let him do what he wants. Let him be him. Let him campaign as him. Stop telling him he's got to talk about universal health care. Stop telling him he's got to talk about
Gender affirming care. Why is that issue number one?
you,
What? When we have
who
addicts
can.
outside. What?
They're literally, it's laughable because in the House and the Senate was all this ascension. They're literally saying the smoothest thing that went along this year is the military appropriation bill, and then they're saying, but the issue is now is the Democrats in the House are saying it's too restrictive on gender
Affirming care.
affirming care. It's too restrictive, and the Democrats in the House are saying this is an issue. And it's like, first of all, it can't be an issue because it seems like Republicans gave a little on the subject. If it's even in the budget somehow, they gave a little on the subject. So how
But
is
can
this
I flip?
holding up?
I want to flip it for you because you'll laugh. There's a rich guy in Washington who I like him. He does great work on initiatives, right? But he's put almost $1 million into anti-trans rights initiatives, and they poll really high. For what it's worth, he's gonna win. But like, has it helped the addiction crisis, the cost of living crisis? Has it helped those foster kids we're talking about? Literally, it's prevented and it's a hilarious number. It's prevented 5 boys who are pretending to be women from playing in women's sports. And yes, I don't like it. That I'm not a fan. I don't think that should happen. But that has nothing to do with the things that are causing people to be addicts.
Nothing.
Not like, do you kind of it's a quality of life coalition, and that doesn't affect my quality of life. I'm so
No,
sorry.
it doesn't. It really doesn't. My kids are competitive
But
swimmers,
what
and
a
I don't
fucking
have.
waste of money. What a
Right, a
fucking waste of
million
money
dollars, $1 million, $1
to
million dollars.
stop whatever boy that his daughter doesn't like playing, beating her at horse equestrian. I don't know. Sorry, it's rude because I also love that Americans do this. It's so cool that we can live in America and people can invest their dollars and change laws with initiatives. And I respect every person on both sides of the aisle for doing that. But I'm also just a little disappointed because we're losing the plot.
We're not prioritizing. It's that
Yes.
simple. We're not prioritizing. Me and you have just labeled three giant priorities, and it's really significant: housing, kids timing out of foster care, a mental health crisis, along with a living skills crisis. I don't need to know if a kid identifies as a cat and if the school principal is putting litter boxes in the bathrooms. I really don't care. I don't need to get those emails. I really don't want to have you on my show if that's what you really want to talk about. I can tell you, this school principal apparently got the job for being a good educator. He decided to put litter boxes in the boys' room. I might have to go with it. I can't spend a lot of time on the
I
topic.
mean, boys are smelly. I don't even it
Not
doesn't
gonna
fully
spend.
connect with me, but it's not going to stop them from learning their history. Like it's far more
It's
important they
really
read
not.
the Declaration of Independence.
It's really not. It's really not. And there's so many other things we could be talking about, spending our time on, and concentrating this administrator's time on. There's so many. We need we need more Saul Spadies. I did get into this competitive politics, and the one thing that frustrated me was the Democratic Party demanded I raise money. And I'm like, you know what? I don't like raising money. I like raising awareness. I don't want $1 million to wind up in my campaign fund when it could be winding up in St. Jude's Children's Hospital's fund, and and they just kept turning me off. I said, you know what? I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to raise awareness. I'm going to create a podcast that raises awareness, and I'm going to get Saul Spady on the podcast. I'm going to get. I'm going to get. I'm going to get. Just great people on my podcast with open minds and create great solutions.
You know, I will say one thing to you, and this is just my passion, and you'll laugh, but one of the reasons why I'm running for US Congress is Washington has a governor that it used to be our AG, and he sued Facebook and Instagram so much that Washington is the only state in America where you can't run Facebook ads on politics. And it's actually very illiberal and a massive free speech violation. The Republicans like it too, because I have a friend, he's like, well, Saul, if we had Facebook ads, you could build a third party. And I'm just like, well, at least they know me, right? They're aware of that I'm the danger in their midst, right? That's going to burst a third party of solutions on them. But I have to run for US Congress because I can run Facebook ads, and like $10,000 is a million impressions, right? So imagine if I spend $250,000 letting people know I'm knocking on doors because I'm with you. Awareness matters. I don't need to be like, I'm Saul Spady. I'm going to do Mondani slick videos. No, I'm just going to be like, I met Coach Trippy knocking on his door. We both thought we should have this great foster solution. Comment below if I missed you. Right? Because now we're setting up a digital signpost and people can put messages on it. If I write back to every citizen, do you know what I'm creating? Digital doorbells. Every moment is an engagement. And I've talked to politicians, you'll laugh, and I've had this metaphor with them, and they'll be like, well, I didn't like what that person said in the comment thread. And I'm like, so when you're at somebody's door and they say something you don't like, do you just slam it in their face and walk away and go, well,
Right.
I'm going to win that vote? Good job, politician. No, you treat them with respect. You respond, you have a
Absolutely.
conversation, you build a bridge. And that's why politicians say the only time they ever win voters, and this is crazy, the only thing a politician believes wins voters is digital doorbelling, or I mean, actual doorbelling. Let's put that into the digital world, but we need to put stamps on our mailers, right? If you're going to do this great podcast, you got to find that one super sexy clip of me and you, 90 seconds, put captions on that, and you should run a little ad to that
We
to
do just
people in
that. We do.
Miami-Dade County, because your goal is to, and even do your like, I'm looking for more Saul Spadies, and maybe some kid's going to respond, and you're going to find Miami Saul, and like let's run him for U.S. Congress because the addiction crisis and the housing crisis and the lack of local politics crisis is in every big city around America. And if it's in every big city around America, that means it's America's crisis. And if it's America's crisis, we might need a president to solve it. And people don't realize how fast, like if I beat Pramila Jayapal, I'm on the short list of AOC's vice presidents because she's going to need somebody who has pro growth Democrat solutions to go with her good vibes. Because good vibes don't win. We need good vibes and great goddamn solutions.
Absolutely, 100%. Saul, I am 100% with you. We're going to stay in touch because I absolutely love this conversation. We have agreed on most 99% of everything. I can't. I would love to see, like I said, I made it clear. I'll say it again before because this is one of the clips that's going to go out there. I want to see 1,200 Saul Spadies across the country, as vigorous, as vibrant, as effective as you can be. And one of the things about the House is everybody says that's such a big reach. No, our founding fathers intended the House members to bring concerns from their community to Washington. That was the idea of the House. The Senate was entirely intended to be different, but the House was meant to be concerned citizens bringing those concerns of their communities to DC and having federal funding, national solutions, talking about it. We're not seeing that now. What we're seeing is a bunch of old hags in the House that have been there for 30 years. I mean, I guess Nancy Pelosi is finally retiring after 40
Good for
years.
her.
Good for
Good for
you.
her.
At the age of 84, she's finally retiring. And I want to see Saul Spady as the Speaker of the House, not necessarily Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House right now. It's just annoying, if nothing else. I'm just being
Oh,
polite when I say that.
day one, if I'm Speaker of the House, mushrooms are being legalized in America. Foster kids are getting the funding they need. Everyone's going to get catastrophic insurance, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have live bands all the time because
That's what I think.
let's put the party back in politics.
Trump did that. Even though I'm not. I when the January 6th things were going on, Trump was in a tent partying. I don't agree with any of it. I know he was a big part of that January 6th initiative, but the fact of the matter is, we need to bring America back together, and music's going to be a big part of that. I mean, we need to bring America back together. Just open our minds and open our hearts and stop the bickering.
I, we didn't talk about it at all, but this last year, and I do have faith. I mean, I was caught on camera crying in front of all of America because the Mariners miraculously won a playoff game.
I have
And
that right here. It's in my notes. I was going to bring it up, but we've really covered a lot of topics. That's an incredible story, though. So jump
I'm
in.
gonna I'm gonna end on this because I think it's important, and it's about faith. I have raised $50 million for family homelessness. I've taken over 80 bands to South by Southwest from Seattle to Austin to give them a chance to start their music career. I recorded them, mastered the sound, so it was like MTV Unplugged, so we kept the history. I have been called the Donald Trump in Seattle's midst. I have been vilified. I have been attacked. And a friend of mine recently was like, yo, all you need to do is just cry for the Mariners. We just need to see that. But like, that was a gift from God. I was given an opportunity and I have a message. And like the night before the Mariners lost to the Toronto Blue Jays, I did like an angels in the outfield prayer. And I said that I would give my life to solve the addiction crisis in America. If you can just give me the Mariners win in the pennant, God. And they lost. And in that moment, I knew that loss was a gift because it's connected me with so many people. It's connected me with friends in Toronto that want to end the addiction crisis. It's given me the platform. I might make a documentary on the Mariners losing and how they come back from it because it wasn't it's Godfather Part One. Like it was Saul Spady crying Mariners fan Part One. Part Two is going to be crying for the addiction crisis and the kids, the foster kids that we've lost, and that's I'm I've never felt more blessed in my life to have that happen.
I feel super blessed to have you on the show because you are the epitome of what I'm trying to do is get candidates that care so much out there, and you are that guy. You are that guy. It's not just a Mariners connection. I always tell the story. When I was a kid, I couldn't hardly read, and the way I learned to read was my dad would walk to the library with me, and the way I became a current events walk is I would read newspapers, old newspapers in the library. And so it's the same thing, I've I just it's an emotional connection. You have an emotional connection to the Mariners. I have an emotional connection to politics in America, to kids timing out of foster care, to the addiction crisis, to the mental health crisis, to the living skills crisis. And we are together on this because that's what we need is people like us that want to have solutions that don't just want to talk about what the other guy's doing wrong. I want to talk about how we get it right.
And just for everyone out there, if you have a dream, your dreams become reality through incredible hard work. Your friend that becomes a Major League Baseball player, they have a million swings in their body for them to be able to do the miraculous thing of hitting a big dumper the way Cal Raleigh does from both sides of the plate. The amount of practice and effort that went into that is almost mind-breaking. The amount of practice and effort and energy required to break the uniparty of Democrats controlling Washington or the Republicans controlling the federal government, and then not replacing it with milk toast new Democrats, but with like action oriented Cascade Democrats is a battle that is like it's worth living for. And
Absolutely.
that's really important. So many people say, what's worth dying for? We can't die. There are kids to save. We have to live for this moment.
Absolutely. 100%. I am 100% with you, Saul. I am excited to be a part. I'm so glad we met today. I'm so glad we talked today because everything you said epitomizes everything I'm trying to accomplish along with you and lots of other people out there in America. So I'm gonna. This has been incredible, and I want to continue it. I need to know more about your campaign. Of course, I'm gonna stay in touch with you. You have my number. Text me when you're in Florida, and it's Saul Spady. And I want to just preface that you are the founder of No Child Sleeps Outside, raising over $50 million for that one initiative, on top of the enormous other initiatives you have in place when you run for office and ultimately win. And we need you and 1,200 others like you across America, and we need a president like you someday, or you someday.
I call it the rational opposition. There is no better gift than getting the opportunity to engage with your fellow Americans and disagree with respect about how we fix these very real problems we are seeing. And it it'll be so much fun to see you in person, and let's just see what we can do for America,
And drink a
folks.
beer. Heck yeah,
Yeah.
heck yeah. Saul Spady, this is political no brainer. I'm looking forward to. Do you have a campaign website just yet, or?
No, not yet. You can find my stuff. It's a coalition. It's the King County QOL.com. And it breaks down my platform. And it's the quality of life coalition is what I'm talking about. We have to get the addicts off the street and into housing or shelter, rehab for those who are committing crimes. If you're dealing fentanyl, you go to jail for 5 years. And we need high density housing near our expensive light rail systems. But it's not going to be built with public housing dollars. That's a waste. It's got to be a private public partnership because in America we do make money. Joke is we're pro growth socialists. We got to grow the pie.
Hell yeah. And we've changed space travel with privatized government partnerships. So we can change housing with privatized, and we can change transportation as well. Saul Spady, I'm Jeff Rabinowitz, Coach Trippy, host of Political No Brainer. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have you back on, Saul. Thank you. I'm going to stay in touch. Me and you are going to stay in touch. We're going to do this again and again because you are really somebody I want to stay in touch with a lot. So thank you, sir.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Saul.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.